Dennis Pitta, tight end for the Baltimore Ravens, the NCAA's all-time leader in receiving yards by a tight end. Dennis, you were the 114th pick in the 2010 draft. Do you remember the emotions of draft day? What was that like?
You know, it can be a very difficult process, I think, especially when you have to wait a few days and go in the fourth round. And I think that was my experience. And, you know, every round that goes by, I think it gets harder and harder. And, you know, the draft is a difficult process as is. You don't know where you're going to end up. You don't know what team you're going to be with. And there's just so many variables that go into it.
Dennis, was the draft process a positive experience to you or just relieving when it was over and you got picked by the Ravens?
I think it's definitely a relief when it's all said and done, because, you know, you work so hard for, you know, the combine, and then you have workouts with teams, and you do everything just to put, you know, your best foot forward and to make a great impression, to really be able to go as high as you can. And once it's all done and you know where you're going to end up, it's just kind of like a sigh of relief, and now, you know, I can actually start focusing on football again.
Baltimore Ravens tight end, former BYU great Dennis Pitta joining BYU Sports Nation. So when the phone rang, did your heart pound out of your chest every time that came to your cell phone? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't get a whole lot of calls throughout the whole draft process until I was drafted. And I got a call from a 410 number, which is Baltimore area, and you know, I knew of that area code, so I knew right away it was Baltimore calling. And you know, at that point in the draft, you know, it was into day 3, and you know, I felt like I had slipped a little bit and fallen back in the draft a little bit, so it was just a relief to finally get a call and you know I was going to Baltimore.
Dennis Pitta's on BYU Sports Nation. I have a logistical question associated with that, and you mentioned that you knew it was the Baltimore number. Were you getting other calls during the draft that you had to ignore, or it's not a number you have in your phone, and, hey, I better maybe pick up because this is an area code I might not be familiar with? Maybe it's the Bucks, maybe it's the Niners. Did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was familiar with Baltimore's area code, but that was pretty much it. And so anytime you get a random number from, you know, who knows where, you had to answer it, assuming that it was a team or somebody, you know, draft related. And, you know, that's the tricky part. If it was somebody that I knew, I would usually just forward them right to voicemail. I didn't really want to talk to anybody during that during that time period.
Understandably. I'm sure after you got drafted, your phone just went crazy and blew up. What was the response from your teammates and friends and family like when it was official?
Yeah, you know, just a lot of congratulatory texts and, you know, a few calls. And, you know, like I said, it was just at that point a relief to know where I was going to end up and, you know, who I would be competing against and what I had to do to make the team. And so, you know, my focus kind of changed to that right away.
Dennis, on the Ravens at the time, you had Todd Heap. Ed Dickson gets drafted before you, same position. What was your mindset at that point, knowing, okay, I've got some work to do at this point? You knew that being a rookie in the league, but you had another tight end drafted ahead of you on the same team.
Yeah, it was interesting because you know, we were taken in back-to-back rounds, and obviously he was picked before me, so right away you almost feel like you're at a disadvantage, and you know, you have a lot of work to do to kind of make up that ground. And so I knew I had my work cut out for me, and I knew I would, you know, have to come in and show what I was capable of. And you know, I think you can't always do that, you know, right away. I think sometimes it takes time, and at the same time you're trying to show your abilities and trying to learn a complicated offense. And so it's a bit of a process. And, you know, even my rookie year, we had Todd Heap here, like you said, and Ed and I didn't get a whole lot of playing time. And I just had to kind of be patient and continue to learn and continue to develop my skills until I was given an opportunity, and then you got to make the most of it.
The patience is paying off. 122 catches and 11 touchdowns as a Baltimore Raven thus far. Dennis Pitta joining BYU Sports Nation. I saw a funny story on the NFL Network when you first got to camp. Coach Harbaugh, I don't know if he was joking when he called you Pitta, or what was he asking, but did he know your name?
I'm sure he knew it. I'm sure he was just trying to get under my skin a little bit and, you know, push my buttons. But
did it work?
No, I've heard that my whole life. Everybody says Pitta, so fortunately it didn't faze me.
Dennis Pitta is on BYU Sports Nation. Catching up to this season, a lot of reports with you before the season that after a dislocated hip that you'd be out for the year, yet you came back in Week 14. What did it take and what did it mean to you to be able to play this last season despite that injury?
Well, it was, when I got injured, there was a lot of unknowns because, it's not a prevalent injury in football. And, doctors didn't really have a clear timetable for me when I first got injured about when I could return, if I would ever be able to return. And so, it was difficult. The only thing I could do was kind of, focus day to day on my rehab and working hard and doing everything I could to get stronger. And, fortunately, after a few months, I was strong enough to start running and get back on the field and, finish the last quarter of the season with the team. And so it was good for me to be able to get back out on the field and show that I was healthy, especially going into unrestricted free agency and, just to be able to be back out with my team and help them through the last stretch.
How do you relocate a hip?
Fortunately, I was unconscious for the relocation of the hip.
Yeah.
Because
thank
it was
goodness.
it was pretty excruciating, and once it was dislocated, they couldn't get it back in, for about 2.5 hours, and so finally I got to the hospital and I was put under, and they actually performed surgery in order to put it back in and remove any fragments of bone that had chipped off in the dislocation.
Oh, gee.
How is your health right now with the hip?
It's great. I feel good. I feel back to normal, and we've started workout here in Baltimore, and so I'm running around catching balls and feeling healthy.
Dennis Pitta on BYU Sports Nation. I hear a lot of guys say that they get stronger after an injury like that, and I'm not really sure what that means. Is it physically, mentally, emotionally, both,
spiritually?
all three? Like, what was the experience like for you, and did you feel like you got stronger in all those areas?
Yeah, I think when you go through adversity like that, it always makes you stronger. From different vantage points, I think certainly from a mental aspect, you know what you can handle. You know what it takes to work hard and get back out there. And, it is tough to come back from an injury and regain the confidence in cutting off that leg or whatever you have to do. And but once you get it back, I do think that, you are stronger in the end.
Dennis Pitta is on BYU Sports Nation. A couple months ago, you signed a new 5-year, $32 million deal. What's the first thing you bought or at least thought about after you signed that contract?
I'm pretty boring, so there wasn't a big purchase.
Was it a new bocce ball set? Was that it?
I haven't played bocce in a long time. Maybe I should invest in a new set and get back into it. But
yeah, I want you to know that.
we didn't really. I think we maybe went out to dinner with some family, and that was about it. We were pretty boring.
Getting crazy.
The tithing's easy to calculate on that, isn't it?
It's pretty clear cut. I'm sure you could do the math right now.
Oh, goodness. Dennis Pitta, Baltimore Ravens tight end, joining BYU Sports Nation. We talked to John Beck a few weeks ago, and we asked John if he played bocce, and he said that, you and Max were really good at it, but he said that he would dominate you in bocce ball.
Yeah. He's like, you guys mix me up for Max, and we're like, oh yeah, we did. But he said he would dominate you guys. Have you played post BYU since you had those epic IPF battles with Austin and Max?
Yeah, we haven't played a lot since the BYU days. And, it doesn't surprise me that John would make a comment like that. He's typically, he's typically a little delusional when it comes to his abilities. And, but, I've never played John, and I think he would be nervous to go head-to-head.
He's going to bring a Canadian style to the game, I believe, in the next couple of months.
Yeah, I think he is now.
There's going to be some motion. He's going to have extra movement while he's running up to release the bocce ball. Dennis Pitta joining BYU Sports Nation. I want to know what it was like right after you got drafted. What was the timetable of you getting to Baltimore and to the Ravens camp, and when it all started to come into motion after you were announced as a 4th-round draft pick?
Well, when you get that call, you're on the phone for a little while. You're talking to the GM, you're talking to the head coach, you're talking to position coaches, offensive coordinators, and then you get on the phone in a conference call with a lot of the local media. And so, it's a lot of that kind of stuff right after you get picked, and then I actually had a couple days to kind of settle down and regroup before I had to fly out to Baltimore. And then the first thing we had was a mini camp, a mandatory mini camp with the whole team. And so we kind of got thrown right into the fire right away. You know, you don't know the offense. You're, just getting into the NFL, and all of a sudden I'm, lining up across from Ray Lewis.
Oh boy. And
it's a bit of a difference, but I think it's just it takes some time to adjust to that, and I think I've adjusted so far pretty well.
I think so, yeah. Congratulations on the Super Bowl victory and the touchdown pass. I believe that was the first touchdown catch by a BYU Cougar in a Super Bowl. Had you heard anything about that?
Is that right? Brett Kiesel didn't get a touchdown catch?
I don't think that the bearded wonder.
The beard is epic, but
yeah.
That's the first I've heard of. That's cool.
Yeah, I may be wrong on that, but let's just say it's
so that may not even be true.
Well, Dennis, we appreciate the time. Good luck with everything during the summer here with the Baltimore Ravens, and practice the bocce ball.
All right, thanks guys. I appreciate it.